What's happening, people? I'm DJ Graish, and in tonight's stream we're checking out the Wavetable Synth. And big up Siebes fam, Graish Nation member. Let me know how the mic's sounding, let me know if you can hear the music. And I hope you've had a good week. Amazing, thank you. So, obviously we're coming up to the Easter holidays, and I am very happy to say I've got a week off. And I'm gonna pretty much be using it to make YouTube videos. So this tune's called Side Quest, and if you're interested in learning how I made it, there's a tutorial on my channel called How to Make Orchestral Drum and Bass, so check it out. And if you haven't seen it, there's a new video on my channel where I check out the old school Ableton Live 1.0, and I install it on this old school laptop and take a trip down memory lane. So if you're interested in seeing how Ableton Live looked 24 years ago, check out my new video. Yes, Siebes fam. That's the way it is, you know. So today I'm going to be showing you a synth called Vital. And many people say it's like Serum but free. Now, disclaimer, I haven't actually used Serum, so I don't know. But it looks very similar. It's got a very similar concept, and it's you got a free version. There is a paid version as well. So we're gonna check it out. But first, let's just wait for the tune to finish and wait for some people to join. So I'm very happy to tell you that I've actually been spending some time and money investing in the live stream, trying to make it look better, trying to make it sound better. So you might notice that the camera angle is slightly different. I've got it mounted above my screen like a webcam. But I'm going to show you the full screen version in just a sec. And I'm also using a different microphone, so hopefully it's sounding cleaner. And this is going to be my setup for making vids in the future and for the live stream. Big up Clive, thanks for joining, man. Clive is officially the top commenter on the Graish channel. How's your week been, Clive? Alright, we're going to get started. The tune's finishing now. And actually I'm going to let it loop round again and play in the background while I show you the Vital website. Alright. So here's the Vital website. So Vital, for the people who don't know, it's a spectral warping wavetable synth. So as you can see, it warps waves in new ways. So basically, I was saying before, it's like Serum. Not that I've actually used Serum, but they say it's very similar. But this is a free version, which obviously you can pay for it as well. The free version, I think it has some limitations, or it has less presets. But it does have a lot going on. And as you can see, it's got a multi-band compressor, all these different effects. You can connect all the different parts of the synth together by dragging and dropping. So you can see in this example, there's an LFO, and all you need to do is sort of click and drag it onto something, and then it'll start wobbling that thing. And for the people that don't know, LFO stands for low frequency oscillator, and it's just a part of the synth where it sort of oscillates things back and forth. And that's how they make, you know, dubstep style wobble basses, where you can make it control all different parts of the synth. There's also this very powerful way of shaping the LFOs and the envelopes. You can modulate all sorts of stuff. And here you can see at the bottom, now this is kind of looking like I'm promoting the thing. I'm not getting paid anything from Vital, and I've not spoken to them about it, but I just thought I would show you guys. Mainly because, you know, Serum 2 came out recently, and I'm not sure how much it costs. I think it's like almost $200. So if you're on a budget or you don't have any money at all, check out Vital. You can download it for free. The free version has 75 presets and 25 wavetables, and then you can obviously just make your own from scratch. So by the way, while we're here, I might as well show you the supported operating systems. So you're going to need Windows 10 or higher, or if you're using a Mac, it's got to be 10.12 and higher. It can be an Intel or Apple Silicon Mac. You can even use this with Linux as well. So if you're making music with Linux, this is going to be one of your options. So this is what it looks like. Here you've got the different oscillators, and I'm going to show you in more detail in a bit. But you've got 3 oscillators. Filters, this is the envelope, this is the LFO, and then here you've got different sections for the effects and the matrix and everything. So big up the people in the chat. Let me know where you're from, let me know where you're listening from. I'm in Barcelona, Spain. We've had some really nice weather this week. It's actually just perfect, you know. And unfortunately, my last couple of videos, I did record them with a red face. I got carried away. I went out in the sun. I won't be doing that again. I'll be wearing sun cream every time now. If you're not careful in Barcelona as a white man, you can really get scorched in less than an hour of exposure. So yeah, I'm getting that factor 50 on my face every time from now on. Anyway, that's enough waffle. I'm just going to let the tune finish this time, and then we are going to get into it. I was saying before, this is a tune called Side Quest, as you can see at the top. Side Quest, I made it for a tutorial, and if you want to see the tutorial, it's called How to Make Orchestral Drum and Bass, and it is inspired by a producer called Keno, that's K-E-E-N-O, and he is a absolute genius when it comes to orchestral drum and bass, and he's actually my brother's favourite producer. He's the one who introduced me to Keno, and I watched like a producer masterclass about him and got some amazing tips, and then decided to make this tune. So that one's Side Quest. Now, I'm going to press save on that because I did make a couple of tweaks. But I've got a project here called Vital Synth. Now, I haven't actually used the Vital Synth in here yet, but what I decided to do is just put together some D&B drums so that we've got something to play our synth along with. So they're just sounding like this. So, as with any plugin in Ableton Live, you just go in here, you go to your plugins, and you go to Vital Audio, there it'll be, and you can just drag it over here. And it'll create a new MIDI track, and it'll be called Vital. And the device is down there at the bottom, and it's opened up the synth on a different window. So let me just drag it up here, and here it is. So, as with a lot of different soft synths, the first patch that you get is called init preset, which stands for initial preset. And I'm just going to quickly press a key. Hang on, let me turn on the MIDI keyboard. So this is what it sounds like. So that's just a sawtooth wave. It doesn't sound very nice. But I'll just quickly show you around the interface and then we can get into it. So you've got 3 oscillators and these dots turn them on and off. So you've got oscillator 1, oscillator 2 and oscillator 3. By default they're all just on a sawtooth wave. For now I'm just going to leave it on oscillator 1. Then up here you've got different envelopes. And what an envelope is, for the beginners, you've basically got attack, decay, sustain and release. And in this case there's an extra one called hold. Usually it's ADSR, attack, decay, sustain and release. And you can sort of see it represented like this. So your attack is like how long it takes for the note to come in. And then your decay is how long it takes to fade away. And the sustain is this sort of flat bit on top where it sort of holds on. And then the release is like after you've let go of the key, it might just linger around for a little bit. And if you don't want that to happen, you put the release down to nothing. So that's just a bit about what ADSR are. But that's your average envelope. And then you've got LFOs. As I was saying before, it stands for low frequency oscillator. So that's just a way of making it oscillate different parts of the synth. And as I'm going to show you in a bit, you can literally make it control almost everything in here. Like this level, this pan, all these different knobs, you can make the LFO control them. So down here at the bottom you've got filters 1 and 2. You can have them on all sorts of different types of filter. You can turn up some drive if you want. And then down here you've got some more complex controls. The different amount of voices. The spread, which is like sort of the stereo, the amount of stereo. So if you turn that down to nothing, it'll be mono. If you turn it up to 100, it'll sort of make it more stereo. And then going into the second page, we've got effects. Now this is amazing. For a free synth, this is ridiculously good. Look at this. So we've got chorus, compressor, delay, distortion, equalizer, filter, flanger, phaser and reverb. And you can put these, you can turn any of them on and off, and you can put them in different orders. So for example, let's just say you wanted a compressor and some distortion, but you wanted the distortion before the compressor. What you do is you turn on the distortion first, and then you can just grab it here and move it to the top of the chain. It's this, in a way it's like Ableton. Ableton goes from left to right. The effects within this go from top to bottom, but it's the same sort of thing. So then you'd put your compressor next and you'd turn it on, and you've got your distortion going into your compressor. And I'm going to show you the matrix in a bit, but basically you might have seen me talking about the matrix before when I was showing you the Wavetable Synth within Ableton. The matrix is just a way of linking one control to another. And then there's this advanced tab. We're not going to get into that for now. Anyway, so I was thinking about making some classic bass sounds, and we're going to start off with an 808. So for the ones who don't know, in fact, you know what? First of all, I'm just going to show you a normal 808. So if I get the simpler, put that in to the project, and then I'm just going to go to my samples, and if I go to where my 808s are, so this is what an 808 sounds like. And you might need to be wearing headphones or have good speakers to hear it because it's very subby. There's not very much kind of mid-range information in it. It's mainly just sub bass. If I play you it sort of a couple of octaves up, it sounds like this. right? So that's what an 808 is, and the origins and the reason why it's called an 808 is because it's from a drum machine from the 80s called the Roland the TR-808, right? So that was a drum machine, and it's been used on probably 1 million different records, and there's different kicks, snares, hi-hats and all that, and one of the kicks just happens to be this very subby kick, which people decided that they if you play it on all different pitches on the keyboard, then it's the perfect sub bass. So now it's become pretty much the go-to sub bass for all sorts of genres, including jungle, including trap, and not like modern hip hop, and almost every genre is using 808 to get that subby kick. So with that being said, that's what a real 808 is. As you can see, essentially, if you zoom in, it's just looking like a sine wave, but crucially, it's got this bit at the beginning, which is like the knock of the kick, which is, as you can see, it's a bit tighter and a bit more triangle-y looking. Then it goes into its sine wave part, and it gradually fades away. So I'm just going to delete this channel here and go back to Vital. Wait. So as I showed you, the sort of wave shape of the 808 is looking like a sine wave. So the first thing I'm going to do is just go to basic shapes and then put it on this sine wave here. And then you can just click basic shapes again to get rid of it. Then I'm just going to turn this, it's going to put this onto formant scale and turn it down a bit. Now I'm looking at my notes here because I took some notes before on how to do this. So if you see me sort of looking down here, it's just because I've got my notes. So LFO1, we're going to use LFO1, and we're going to sort of put in the shape of the 808. So you might want to do it something like that. So how's it sounding so far? Let me just click this, like arm the track. Now obviously it's sounding nothing like an 808 yet, but it will. So bear with me. So we've drawn in the decay. Oh yeah, and this mode here, you need to put it on envelope mode. Next, drag the LFO onto the level. So this is the part that I was saying before, that you can make these LFOs control all sorts of different things. So if you just grab this, see how it's got those sort of 4 arrows? You can drag it onto any control within here and just drag it onto level. And you see that like round the outside of the knob now, it's got this sort of turquoise coloured ring. So envelope 1, I've actually written some notes here. So put the sustain to about 1 o'clock and release to about 11 o'clock. Sustain 1 o'clock, the release to about 11 o'clock. Decay 10 o'clock. Alright, so this is envelope 2. Decay 10 o'clock. Sustain 0 and release 9 o'clock. So turn the sustain all the way down, release to about 9 o'clock. In the matrix, so I'm going to show you the matrix now, look. So do you remember a minute ago I dragged LFO1 onto the level control there, which is this here. Now, if we go into the matrix, you'll see that LFO1 is now controlling that, and you've got this amount which you can move. And I want to also make the envelope 2 control the voice transpose. So envelope 2, voice transpose, global, and it's there. And I'm just going to turn this up a tiny bit because I'll show you what, if you do it too much, it sounds like this. It's way too much, you know, but if you make it just like 2 or 3, it's very subtle. So when it says voice transpose, basically what it is like this, the shape that you draw in here on the LFO is going to be, it's going to make the pitch sort of dive like doo, doo, you know what I mean? So actually I'm going to put the sustain to 0. Release much further down. It's this one, isn't it? Wait. This attack needs to be... That's it, so... The attack can't be too short, otherwise you get a click. Alright, so let me play my drums for a bit. You can hear that it is starting to sound like a classic 808. And what's it? So there's also a, you can hear that when I let go there's a click, and I think that's from having too short a release. See what I mean? Which one is it? So yeah, it's a case of trial and error, obviously, but you need to make sure it's got enough release on it so that it doesn't click at the end. So some of the people in the chat are saying putting a load of instance of Serum onto your tune can be CPU intensive. So what we can do in a bit, obviously this is just the first bass, you can see right now. So I'm using an M1 MacBook Pro. It's not the M1 Pro, it's not the M1 Max or the Ultra or anything like that. It's the baseline M1. So it's not, obviously it's quite modern, but it's not like some super mega computer. And right now we're at 4 or 5%. So let's just keep our eye on the CPU and add a load more of these. We can make a few different bass lines, and we can even add Vital to make some pads and stuff as well. Now I was saying before that there are effects built in, but needless to say, if you prefer, you can just add your classic Ableton effects. Big up Boomerang Studio in the chat. Shout out Jason Story. So Jason saying try using VST3. So Jason, is VST3 less CPU intensive than than a regular. I can't even remember which one I used, to be honest. Oh yeah, I use AU V2. So AU, I think it's a Mac format. Stands for audio unit, and I have no idea which one's more CPU intensive and which one's less, but I just mix and match them, to be honest. Yeah, so Jason's saying that VST3 is optimized because it's much newer. For the ones who've just joined us, what we're checking out is Vital, which is a free wavetable synth, and the first sound that I've made so far is an 808 sound. I didn't even remember that I had this on here. So it was getting sustained a lot more by the multiband compression. And that was obviously contributing to that annoying click that I was hearing too. So for the people who aren't in the chat, Jason is saying that he's rocking he's using an iMac from 2017 with great specs, and he can notice a massive difference between normal VSTs and the new school VST3s in terms of CPU usage. So that's a bit of a tip. If you want to save on a bit of CPU, make sure you're always using VST3 where possible. So I guess at this point I'm basically going to have to decide what key I want this tune to be in. And make a bit of a loop. So I'm just going to highlight a section and press Shift Command and M to create a MIDI clip. And then maybe draw in some notes for this bass line. So what I like to do is basically start off just by playing the computer MIDI keyboard. And then just get a basic idea together, but then when I actually come to making it, I do actually just draw it into the piano roll, and you can sort of press keys and see where they get highlighted in red, and rather predictably I've ended up making a bass line in F. So I wanted it to go dum 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 dum, and maybe it's actually easier to just record it in. So I just press record and see what happens. All right. What I'm going to do is I'll start it here at bar 13, and when it loops around, that's when I'm going to start. All right, here we go. I pressed the wrong button. All right, let's try that again. You know, so what you can do is just record it in with your actual MIDI keyboard or your computer MIDI keyboard, and then obviously go in and tweak some of it. So I'm not going to tweak it too much because I guess it does have the human feel, you know. So don't want to just absolutely quantize the hell out of everything and put it in robot mode, but I was showing you last week that sometimes it's actually good to have the notes come in a little bit after the kick. So for example, look at that first note, right? See where it's coming in? Now obviously there's a temptation to quantize that right onto the line, but there is an advantage of having it where it is, because that's going to be, the kick's going to happen there, and then by the time that sub bass comes in, and the kick's already got out of the way, which is going to really help with headroom. And actually my keyboard is a Bluetooth one, you know, which is clearly going to introduce a little bit of latency, but maybe that works in my favour. Let's just add an extra note there, so it goes dum dum. Bear with me. So you get the point. Anyway, you know. So Siebes fam saying, I've used your advice this week and it does sound better, less clashing. Yeah, actually, you know what? The jungle tune that we were making last week was naturally, I was able to push it up into the limiter quite loud from the start. And I think the reason might have been because of that thing I did with sort of delaying the 808s. Anyway, I think this needs to kind of go on a bit longer, so I'll just crank up the decay a bit. Or is it the sustain? It's all about just experimenting and turning these. And by the way, so the compressor that comes in Vital, it's by default it's on multi-band mode, which is like a OTT style compressor. And if you don't know what OTT is, I can explain it in a bit if you want, but needless to say, if you do want a normal compressor, it's there. You just have to click on it and go to single band. Right, so you know, I was saying before that it's good to put them a bit late, but obviously don't do it too much, because I think that last C sharp there should actually be around here. So this one's just coming a bit late. I quite like the middle note of those three being a bit shorter, so it goes. Yeah, it's alright. Anyway, so that's the 808. Now we should have a go at making some different kind of bass sounds. Or maybe some other kinds of sounds. What do you reckon? People in the chat, what do you think I should make next? Should I make a wobble bass, or should I try to add some kind of melodic elements like a pad or some chords or something? And I wanted to tell you about a website with a weird name called Knob Cloud. So basically, yeah, I discovered this website called KnobCloud, and what it is it's a way of buying and selling second-hand software. Like, you get your license key. So what people do is, if you buy a MIDI keyboard or a sound card or whatever, sometimes it comes bundled with a stripped-down version of Ableton Live. So what you can do is the people who don't want to use that, they just sell it, and they sell it for about a tenner. So here's a little bit of a teaser for you. I bought a light version of Ableton Live 12 for $9.99 from someone on KnobCloud, and I'm going to be making a full-on series for beginners, like how to use Ableton Live Lite for beginners. It's going to be a very basic series, but a tenner. You can try out Ableton Live 12 for a tenner. Now, obviously, it's got a lot of the features missing. I've actually been enjoying kind of getting around some of the limitations, because it only allows you to have 8 channels, but one of them is allowed to be the drum rack, which you can put in like loads of different sounds. So if you want to, you can just have a drum rack for your drums, and then you can have a drum rack for all loads of other stuff like instruments, samples, put them in there, so there's ways around it. And like I say, sometimes limitations can actually breed creativity, as they say. So stay tuned if you're a beginner and you're really kind of stumped about all of the complexities of Ableton Live. Well, we're going to be starting off with Ableton Live Lite, and I'll show you how to use that in a very basic way, and then we'll move on to some more advanced stuff in the standard version and the suite version. So anyway, we had Clive was saying a lush pad. And Clive's saying have a look into the Move. So the Ableton Live Move, for the people that don't know, it is a standalone device. You don't need the computer for it. It is also very basic. That only contains, I think it's 4 tracks, but one of them can be or at least one of them can be the drum rack. But yeah, you can. That's one of them things where, like I was saying, the limitations of it make you really creative and find little ways around it and stuff. It's also just a great way of starting a tune, like away from your computer or away from your studio. Like you can just be on the train, in the park. I think it's got a built-in battery. So yeah, someone was just saying they have Ableton Live Lite, and I was kind of oblivious to how many people had it until the other week. I had 2 comments back to back. I think it might have been 3 actually now. On my jungle tutorial, 3 people in quick succession were basically letting me know that when it comes to slice to a new MIDI track, it's not available in Ableton Live Lite. And that's when I was sort of directing them to another tutorial where I show you how to chop up breaks the audio way. But then I thought to myself, I need to really know the limitations of Live Lite so that I can teach you guys. Because like another thing I didn't realize is that it doesn't actually have the EQ8. So I'm here saying just put an EQ8 on this, just EQ that, but it doesn't have it. Well, obviously what you can do is you can get the EQ3 instead. So the EQ3 is more of a DJ style EQ, and it looks like this. Wait, it looks like this, right? And you've just got low, mid, and high. But if you want to high pass something, all you do is you turn down the low thing, and then where it says frequency low, you can just change that to the frequency that you want to high pass it at. For example, 200 hertz if you're putting it on a snare drum or something. You'd just do that. So again, another workaround. And also, I know I'm sort of deviating from the topic at hand quite a bit here, but I also want to tell you about another amazing free plugin called Nova. It's called TDR Tokyo Dawn Labs Nova. So let me show you this really quickly, and then we'll get back into the vital content. So if you're somebody who's using Live Lite, or even if you're using full Ableton, this is a EQ plugin that does a lot of different things. As you can see, you can high pass stuff. The high pass and low pass are separate over here, so you can just choose the frequency like that, right? But then you've got your normal bands, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you can boost them or cut them. You can change the Q. You can change the frequency. All normal stuff, right? But one thing, correct me if I'm wrong, but one thing that EQ8 doesn't have in Ableton is if you go to your presets here and put it on de-esser, it's got a de-esser built in, and you can use it on that mode where it's a shelf, or you can use it on the bell curve mode. Now I don't really have a vocal to show you it with, but if you want a free de-esser, Nova's a great one. And if you're the type of person, if you don't have a good EQ plugin and you're looking for a free one, I recommend Nova. I've been using it recently. I've de-essed vocals with it, and I've just used it in general for EQing. But at the same time, I'm also someone who really likes the EQ8 in Ableton, and I do try and use as many stock Ableton tools as possible. One of the reasons is because I know that many people who watch my tutorials are just using Ableton, and they may or may not have all these other fancy tools. So for you guys to be able to follow along, I just try and use the stock stuff a lot of the time. This is what we got so far. Let's drive it a bit more. The drive really lets you hear that thing, you know, where I was, there was that, what was it called now? If I go into the matrix, you see voice transpose. That's basically where it makes it dive down just a little bit at the beginning. Now I did it really subtly, but now that I've put this saturator on, just listen to it. See how it goes boom. It's sort of changing really subtly in pitch. So what I think I should do is put a wobble so it goes boom, whoa, 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 whoa. So let's try and make a whistle live on the airwaves. A little bit daunting, but this is what we're here for. Just a bit of experimentation and a bit of trying new things, you know. So basic shapes. If you go to basic shapes and then you've got these arrows, you can just sort of go through. And one that I'm looking for, let me just turn these. I want to put it on a bit more of a triangle wave. How about classic blend? So for the ones who don't know, basically what a wobble is you get a filter, you put it onto like a low pass filter, and then you want to just change or modulate the frequency cutoff using an LFO. So what we're going to need to do is find the frequency cutoff. Where is it? You've got mix, you've got drive. There's all these different, you see how it's got oscillator 1, oscillator 2, 3, etc. And that basically means that this filter right now, it's only affecting oscillator 1, which is great because that's the only oscillator we're using right now. But if I just drag the LFO onto the filter in general, is that going to work? Yeah, so you just do that. Right, so as you can see, now when I hold down the note, the LFO is making that wobble, and with this little wheel here we can turn down the amount. And by the way, this wheel corresponds, if we go to the matrix, it corresponds the same as this amount here, so you can either control it in the matrix or back over here with the little wheel. And now that I've turned it down, as you can see, it's much more of a subtle wobble, and if you turn it up, it's going mad. And it seems that basically if you want to control, yeah, so it's this white bar here, thank you Clive. So in order to move your cutoff, you just move this back. It's very intuitive. And then it's wobbling very slowly right now, but if you want to make it faster, you go here to tempo. You can drag it up or down. So one thing I want to do, I'm basically going to have to get rid of some of the notes of our 808. So it can go boom, whoa, 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 whoa. So it's going to be tight. I deleted that one by accident, but I'll just draw it back in. So this big long one, I'm just going to bring it right back like that. Right, so we've left a space, so it's going to go boom, 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 boom. Do you know what I mean? So we need to find the right F. So what I do is, on this piano roll, if you want to zoom in and out, you literally drag to the left or right. So you see my little magnifying glass now. If I click and drag to the left, it zooms out. To the right, it zooms in. And what I do is hold down a key on the MIDI keyboard and then sort of zoom out and look for it, and it's the red one. So you see it's down there. Locate it and then zoom in there. So we've found it now, and then here where the 808 finishes, so it's about here, and just put in a note for the wobble. We want it to go on maybe this long. Don't worry if it sounds lame right now, because we're going to do stuff to it. So what you do is like get the notes in there, and then we can play it and we can tweak it. Whoa, 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 whoa. And then again here. And by the way, Clive, I wasn't ignoring you with the Lush pad. We will be making that next. Just wanted to do one more bit on the bass first. This one's too short here. So what I'm going to do is delete that second half and then just copy and paste these two. Alright, so I've put in the notes for the wobble now, but what we need to do is improve it. It needs cranking somehow. So there's different ways to make it more audible to the wax speaker crew. One thing you can do is to change the waveform shape, you know. Now, I'm not really a massive neurofunk fan, but how classic DMB does this sound? You know, it's instantly sounding like that kind of music, you know. So if you're someone who's into jump up, neurofunk, just get Vital. Anyway, I'm going to go for something a little bit more subtle. So this pulse width one is looking like the square wave, which I was essentially looking for in the first place. So let's go with that. So, you know, that's sounding like, what's it called? Flat Eric. Do you remember Flat Eric? Mr. Wazzo. Right, so I quite like the square wave. You know, I'm more on the subtle vibes when it comes to these bass lines. You know, I quite like a simple waveform with some subtle distortion on it, and it gets a bit warmer. I'm not really trying to make some savage stuff, but each to their own, you know. And I just wanted to show you that it is definitely possible using Vital. This is annoying me. Alright, here we go. One thing you need to do is make sure that the 808 and the wobble aren't overlapping with each other, because it will sound terrible. And what you can do is just zoom in and just first of all make sure your MIDI notes aren't running into each other. But then there's also something else that you need to consider, which is, do you remember before I was showing you the attack, decay, release, etc.? Well, I was saying to you that the release is, look, there I've got two overlapping, so that's why it was sounding bad. So the release is basically where the note carries on a little bit after you let go of the key, or in this case, after the note has finished on the piano roll. Where was it now? So even if you're looking and you visually see that that notes aren't overlapping with each other, is it this one? No. So I'm trying to waffle at the same time. But you know, you might see that no notes are overlapping with each other, but bear in mind that when you've got release, then that little last bit might overlap, and that might be causing you problems. That's it. Yeah, I don't need to delete that note, I just need to make it much shorter. That's why it's good to be in this mode. Do you see how I can see both MIDI clips, but I can also see inside the sort of orangey MIDI clip as well, so that when I move this, I can get it to just the right length compared to the note in the red clip. So there's a little tip for you. Anyway. See, they're overlapping. So I've been too busy gassing. Is it this one here? In fact, what am I doing? No, it's the last one there, isn't it? It's that one there. See, so you zoom in, you see the both MIDI clips, and you can see this here, so you can just dial it back a bit. And then with a bit of luck now, we shouldn't have any overlapping. I could just duplicate these two clips. We're good to go. All right, so Jason's asking for the wobble patch. So I'm going to just go through what I did. So I've put the oscillator 1 onto pulse width, which is essentially a square wave. I haven't really changed that much. All I did was dragged LFO1. You see how you've got these little kind of little thing with 4 arrows, and then that means you can drag stuff, right? So I dragged it over here to the filter. Now I did that with LFO1, and the cool thing is it comes up with this little wheel, which is like the amount that it's going to affect it, and it's also the same control. So that little control there is the same control as if you go into the matrix. You see this amount here. You can dial it back to make it more subtle. You can crank it right up so that it's wobbling it loads. Also, I changed on LFO1 you've got tempo, and I put it to 1/8, so that's that kind of faster wobble. But another thing you can do in Ableton, if we go into automation mode and you see LFO1 tempo, you can draw in this red line to do some faster wobbles and some slower wobbles if you want. So for example, I might want the second wobble to be on a quarter note like that. Maybe not a quarter, let's try other stuff. You know, sometimes it's like there's one that's triplets. Let's see if we can figure out how to do that in Vital. Tempo triplets, there you go. And then I just want to copy and paste this. Is that going to copy the automation with it? Yes, sweet. All right, I'm going to press save there. So what we've got is some drum and bass drums. We've got a homemade 808 and we've got a homemade little wobble bass. And let's explore some of the effects within Vital. So I'm going back into the wobble bass now. And on the second page, you've got all these effects. So you've got chorus, compressor, delay, distortion, equalizer, filter, flanger, phaser, and reverb. And do you know what I did today? Just as out of curiosity, I was like, what happens if you just turn everything on? And it actually didn't sound that bad. I mean, it sounds like distant and further away. Maybe it could be layered. So what you could have is, if I just duplicate this whole layer, so now we've got, in fact, I'm going to start labeling. So I'm going to call this 808. I'm going to call this one wobble. Wait, what's going on? My keyboard's malfunctioning. Wobble. I'm going to call this one wobble with way too many effects on it. Wobble effects, okay? So what we can do now is we can have our main wobble with nothing on it, or very little effects on it, and then we can have this extra layer over the top which is adding all this stuff. And you know what I'm going to do? You know, before I was going on about TDR Nova, which is a EQ. I'm just going to put that on a high pass filter and make sure it's not got any bass in it, because we don't want two with bass. So we'll have the main wobble with bass, and then this extra layer can just be mid. Am I doing this on the right layer? Yeah, I'm putting it on the wrong one, that's why. It's supposed to be on wobble effects. Alright, so that's cut off at 330. So now you've got these two together. Very subtle. And then you can just blend them to taste. So if I bring it all the way down, then we've got the dry wobble. And then fade it up. It's actually not sounding bad, is it? Obviously, you would never, needless to say, you would never just throw on every single effect like that. But considering it was just total overkill, it didn't end up sounding that bad. So again, next thing we're adding. Oh yeah, by the way, let's keep an eye on the CPU meter. So now with 3 instances, we're up to 20%. So yeah. And by the way, Jason, do you know if AU are optimized? It's AU V2. Are they as optimized as VST3s or not? I suppose one way we can find out is this. Here, let's do a little experiment. So we can save these patches and then open Vital 3 times as a VST3 and see if it's using more or less. Right, let's have a look what it is when everything's playing. So we're sort of hovering between 20 and 25 on the CPU. What we're going to do is go through really quickly and save these all as presets. Is it that? Alright, preset name 808. Save. Next one. Preset name wobble. Save. Last one. I'm going to save this as wobble effects, just for simplicity. Right, now I'm going to delete everything, and I'm going to reopen them as VST3s. We're going to see what the CPU load is. We're getting scientific here. First one. 808. Oh no! I needed the MIDI clips. Wait, let me go back a sec. Right. So this one's 808, and I'm going to drag the MIDI onto it, and then I'm going to delete it. Right, I can delete that one now. With a bit of luck, this should be still sounding like the 808. Oh no, because I had saturation on as well. I'm getting ahead of myself. Put the saturator there. Now I'm safe to delete it. Alright, now, new instance of Vital. This time I'm opening Wobble and I'm putting my MIDI clips on. And that's about it, right? Oh no, because it needs the automation too. Sorry guys, I'm going on an absolute scientific mission to find out what type of plugin uses the most CPU. But it's all in the name of science, you know. I think this could actually help us in the future. We can use more instances of synths, so it's worth experimenting. Right, where was the... No, turn off MIDI keyboard. See, I'm not very good at multitasking, that's the thing. Vital, LFO1 tempo. So what I need to do here is... What have I done here? Right. Has it brought the automation with it? No. But that's not a problem because I'm going to make it copy it now. Wait. Why is it not showing it? It's really annoying. Going to Vital there, and there's only device on. Okay, there it is. With a bit of luck, I can copy and paste this. Cut. Just work. Oh, I'm stumped. Anyway, it's not that difficult to draw it back in, so we've got an eighth and then it goes down to a quarter. Right. Yeah. I'm getting confused now. Alright, this is the 808. This is the one and only 808. Wobble effects was a hit and miss. The thing that's really kind of confusing me is that when I go to Vital, right, you can see that line of automation. I'm pretty sure that I should be able to just highlight it all, press Command and C, go here, press Command and V. Why isn't it copying it? That's just ridiculous. Kind of angering me. But anyway, I can't do my little experiment until I figure this out. Anyway. 1/8. Down to a quarter. But then I did need to put it on that triplets mode. Back up to an 1/8 again. Wait. 1/8, quarter, 1/8 again. So that should be it. And then just copy this. Right, that's 2 of them done. Then we've just got the last one, which is called wobble effect. Hang on, so just to clarify, I did open this one as a VST3, didn't I? Yes. All right, one more Vital VST3. Put that there. This one, I'm opening it up as wobble effects. I do need to put this automation in again. And again, it's not brought the automation with it. So close the preset browser, and I'm just going to tap on this LFO tempo. That's going to bring up the red line, and all I have to do is start it off on an 1/8, bring it down to a quarter, bring it back up to an 1/8. Wait, do it here. These are the kind of things you just have to do, you know, if you want to make tunes. So let's just make sure it's wobbling right. Right, that's our 3 layers. Now I can delete the original wobble effect. And I can delete the original wobble. And these are our 3. 808. Wobble. Wobble effects. Right, it's the moment of truth. If this is using less than 20 to 25% CPU, we've cracked it. It's kind of using 18 to 23. It did just get up to 25 actually, so. So Jason, when you say it's a fun wobble, do you mean with these weird effects on, or do you think just if I get rid of that and it's just like this? So in grand conclusion to the experiment we just did, it's looking like you might be able to save a couple of percent of CPU if you're using VST3s versus AU V2, as in like audio units V2. They might be just as optimized, to be honest. What I really should have done is normal VST versus VST3, but I won't be doing any more of these kind of experiments because I'm just trying to make some music. Right, now Clive was saying before that we should try and make a pad, and I totally agree. So now I need to think about what kind of wave shape would be great for a pad. And I think it's going to be some random ones. What do you guys think? What kind of shape should I use for the pad? Postmodern pulse? Nah. It's not going to be a pulse wave. It needs to be something pretty smooth. So you've got these... Wait, let me just arm this track. Crappy toilet. I'm not sure if that counts as cussing because I'm not trying to get demonetized. Yeah. Yeah, Seebs fam, I'm totally with you. Did you see my new video, by the way? The old school Ableton Live one. I'm using the Dell from 2008. And like, even when you're not doing anything, you're literally just sitting there with it just displaying the desktop. The fan is going on full speed, like making a racket. You can't really hear it. Like, I was kind of apologizing for it in the video, but because I thought it was going to get detected on the mic and I thought you were just going to hear all this noise, but thankfully you couldn't really hear it. But that was the main reason, to be honest with you, why I couldn't carry on using that computer. Otherwise it probably would have lasted a few years longer, but I just had to get rid of it because of that fan noise. I was always doing things to try and not block the vents and stuff, to let it breathe. But that's one thing that's come a long way in computer technology, you know. Before I was going on about I've got the M1 Mac. The amazing thing about the M1, because basically these chips were developed to be, they're kind of like a souped up iPad chip. And as a result, you can have them, the latest MacBook Air doesn't even have a fan, you know. The Pro does have a fan, but it just never comes on. So that's so cool because I can sit here making beats and using all loads of different instances of synthesizers and the fan just doesn't come on. Drink the juice. How about this? Nope, not a pad. So what you can do is just hold down one key and then just press down, down, down. And obviously none of them sound like pads. That just sounded like a terrible alarm clock. If you're making... I tell you what, if I was a neurofunk producer, I'd just be using Vital all day. So anyway, should I have a look at some presets? Because I was just going through waveform shapes, but Smoker's Lounge? That sounds pretty chilled. Maybe it's supposed to be higher up the keyboard. Yeah. So I've spoken before about presets, you know, some people, I don't know if this is still the case, but back in the day when I was learning to produce and I was always going on Dubstep Forum, there were certain people on there that were like turning their nose up at presets and saying you always have to make your own patches. I don't feel that way at all. I feel like if you like this sound, just use it. Because the chances are the tune that you end up making with it is going to be completely different from the next guy's tune anyway. So, and it's like saying, you know, an electric guitar with a load of distortion and a bit of reverb. That's basically a preset, you know. And it's like saying, oh, you can't use that because the other guy used it. And it's like everybody's used it, you know. Maybe that's not the best analogy for it, but you know what I mean? Like, everybody's using the same sounds, but you're going to come up with something completely different with them. Should we go with a... Should we just transform this tune into an absolute chiller? No, I want to keep looking for either a pad, you know, and going back to the presets thing, obviously one thing you can do is start with a preset and then start turning the different controls and tweaking it until it sounds completely different. Float chords. So that one's starting off twinkly and then it actually goes into a wobble bass. There you go, pad. In fact, look, if I put style, pad. Analog pad. So what we'll do is we'll start off with analog pad and then we're going to make it our own. And this shows you some of the capabilities of Vital, because look at that. How it's got that sort of 3D waveform that's moving back and forth. But you notice how the filter doesn't have any LFO on it. So what we'd do is with LFO2, put it on like a really slow one. So all you have to do is, you can use the mouse wheel actually. You can put your mouse over it and then roll the mouse wheel and change it like that. That's really cool. So if you put it on 4/1, look how slow the filter is moving now. And you see how, watch the filter every time I press a key. It like jumps back, and that's called re-trigger. You see how it says mode trigger? You can change it to sync. It doesn't do it anymore, so. Siebes fam saying it's crazy when you go through presets and hear them in chart-topping music. Totally. You know, it's like you could literally get some of these and just make £1 million with them if you use them in the right way. I'm not very good at the keyboard, but the cool thing about the piano roll is you don't need to be very good at the keyboard, because you can either just play it then edit it or just draw them in from the start. But what I like to do is just put it, like, sort of find out where the notes are with the keyboard, and then once you know where they are, then just, so we've got an F, a G sharp and a C. Which obviously is a F minor chord. But we're going to see how it sounds. So I'm just going to do this, and then, you know, like I was saying before, what you can do is just put in the notes and then start tweaking the patch. Wait. And don't forget the velocities. So what we're going to do is, by the way, Vital's open, but it's on my other screen, so here it is. You see how I put the LFO to the filter there, and it's moving it really subtly. So you can actually crank it down like that. And then you might decide that actually you want these ones to be half the length, and then it goes down again. I'm not really sure. I can either change the bassline, or I can just change the pad, or I can just keep the pad super simple. I was thinking the pad could go on for 3 bars like that. Wait. Or should it just go to the previous chord? What was it? So anyway, Vital, as I was saying, has its own effects section, and look how many of them are on for this already. So we've got distortion, phaser, chorus. When it comes to using a preset, you can decide to use all of the stuff that was on it, or turn them off one by one. So anyway, before I was going to, let me just go back to talking about Knob Cloud. So another reason why I got the Ableton Live Lite 12 is because it's like an upgrade path. So what you can do is you can buy it for a tenner off somebody, and then you can, through Ableton Live themselves on ableton.com or whatever, you can upgrade to the full version, and you'll get like a £50 discount, but you've only spent a tenner, so it's a way of saving some money. So what I would recommend some of you guys do, some of you guys who are still using FL Studio or whatever other software and you want to try Ableton, you could just get the light version and check it out for a tenner, and then you can either decide to upgrade to the full version for a discount, or sack it off and you've only spent a tenner. And if you do it, then the thing is with Knob Cloud is that it's you're sort of trusting people. So you have to make a payment, and then they have to send you the serial number, and you just have to trust that it works. But I did, and it did work, you know. And it was a safe guy. You can message them, you can say thank you and that, and the guy was sound, so it all worked out fine. But I guess there is the possibility that they could be a scammer. So, but you only lost a tenner. It was a gamble basically, and it paid off because I got Ableton Live Lite for a tenner. I can explore it, show you guys the possibilities and make some tutorials with it. You know, I'm not really sold on the pad, to be honest, because it's not that type of tune, is it? It needs more of a savage sound. It was worth a try though. So, going back to the presets and the pads, let's have a listen. You can use your arrows again. What's this payment on your bank statement, Knob Cloud? That was pretty haunting. What was it? You know what? The notes that I put in for the pad are actually working with this plinky sound. Listen. It just needs another one. So it goes blink and then here it's going to have another one. Wait, I'll show you what I mean. Here the notes are going to come again. But do you remember I was showing you the other week about like staggering them? So what we're going to do is I'm going to shorten that at the end by a little bit and then drag it sideways so it goes. Alright, so that's too much. So what you want to do is, you don't want it to so that you can hear it going blitting. You want it to be so subtle that it's like a strum of a guitar, you know? You hit each string like a millisecond after the previous one. And it sounds like this. Yeah, so Seeb's fam is a member of Graish Nation. And what Graish Nation is the membership of this channel, which I launched last week. And basically the top tier of Graish Nation, which is like the $9.99, it allows you to... We're going to have a Zoom call once a month where we're all in there giving each other tips, and I'm going to be... also giving you feedback. So I thought we could all like bring a tune to the session and give feedback, give tips, give a bit of a lesson and stuff. So, you know, in terms of a music production lesson, I think $9.99 a month is basically as cheap as you're ever going to get, isn't it? So consider joining Graish Nation on the top tier. Also, there's the other two tiers, which are like the lowest one is only $1.99, and it's basically just a token of your appreciation. You know, you get a little badge saying you're a member. The middle tier is like there's other stuff where there's going to be like a private live stream, and you get to take part in polls, and we're also going to have a group, either a WhatsApp group or some other chat or something where we're all going to be talking as well. So get involved in Graish Nation. It supports the channel, and you get a very cheap music production lesson once a month. I'll teach you how to make a plinky dark drum and bass tune. The By the way, the first Zoom call of Graish Nation is going to be on Thursday evening. So if you sign up now, then you're going to be in the first call, like in less than a week. And you guys know that I like to try effects. I like to try a bit of delay on the melody, so yeah, I really appreciate that, Seebs fam. You guys are so cool. I'm so happy that you keep coming back every week, and I really enjoy these live streams. And even though right now it's only 4 people watching this one, but it's the core community, you know. You guys are going to be like, when this channel grows to massive proportions, you guys are going to be able to say that you were here from the start when there was only 4 people watching the stream. Right, so I'm going to group those 3 basses together, and I'm just going to call it bass. And then I think it's time for me to start like trying to add some other instruments and stuff. Wait. That's it, innit? Well, do you reckon that's why? Do you reckon that's why there's less people this week? Because of Easter? It goes. Alright, so that's vital, guys, you know. I don't know what else I can tell you about it. It's free. I would recommend everybody download it. If you find that you use it a lot and you want more presets, then there is a paid version. You've got 3 different oscillators. So if you make a sound, for example, the wobble bass, right now each one of these sounds only has one of the oscillators working, but you can just turn on oscillator 2. And what you'd need to do is make sure this filter is also on oscillator 2. And you see that? Straight away, you've added another sound to the wobble, you know. And one thing you can do is this. Let me show you something. You see that? There's the option to automate oscillator 2 switch, right? Get the little pencil tool and just draw it on there. So watch what happens now. For the first sort of 8 bars of this, it's just going to be the square wave. And then 8 bars later, it's going to add in that sawtooth wave. And it changes the wobble, you know. Instantly fatter. That's the thing. All of these different controls, you can make the LFO and envelope change different things within the synth, but don't forget you can also automate all the different things within Ableton by drawing in these red lines. So you can just make so much movement and variation in your track by controlling Vital with Ableton Live. Anyway, with your permission, hope you don't mind, but I want to get using some samples and stuff now. Because I do love a bit of synthesis, but it's also really fun to just go through these sample packs and try and find some sounds that way. So, with that being said, I don't know if Jason's still here, but big up Jason Story, because he was the one who gave me these 0G sample packs, which I've been absolutely rinsing over the past few weeks. So if you're still here, Jason, I don't know if you saw the live stream from last week or the week before, but I was using 0G samples. And the thing is, we were talking before about it rinsing your CPU, and right now it's only below 20%, but you know, if I would have carried on adding more sounds, we'd start to rinse it. Whereas if I just add a load of simplers and put in some of these sounds, then it's very light on your CPU. So, and if you're the type of person, like I know Jason's making kind of late 90s drum and bass styles, so a lot of the time it's good to use samples for trying to make it sound old school. I love that synth 17. It always reminds me of the monks back in the day, like those chanting monks in the Dark Ages. Let's use it. So I always say that it's good to tune your samples when you put them in the simpler. And the reason is because the way how a sampler works and the way how a keyboard works, if you look at your average like piano or musical keyboard, the furthest left key is always a C, right? And when they invented the sampler, they made that the sort of bass pitch. So when you press the first key, which is a C, it'll just play the sample at its normal pitch, and then as you play further up the keyboard, it'll play at high pitch and stuff, you know. So for that reason, it still works like that with virtual samplers as well. So what you want to do is press your C key and make sure the C is the C. So in this case, it's kind of a detuned A, so we want to go up a bit. So I put it up 3 semitones and then a bit more. And needless to say, it might sound cool if it's slightly detuned like that. It's clearly wobbling around all over the place. We want it in the ballpark at least. So now when I press an F, because remember before when I was making the bass line, I kind of determined that this tune is in F. So remember I was saying C is kind of the bass. So we can either choose the F that's above the C, which is this one, or we can choose the F that's below the C, which is this one. And I think the lower one is sounding more like those Gregorian monks, but I might have to sort of high pass it so it's not got as much bottom end that's going to interfere with the bass line. In fact, let's just try it the other octave. Shout out Clive, thank you for being here, Clive, and thanks for always commenting on every single video. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you next week, man. You can hear the Gregorian monks next week and see how we got on. So, someone was sort of pointing out to me last week that you can either add EQs after every simpler, but there is also this built-in filter here. So if you just put that onto a high pass, you've got the choice of the 12 or 24 mode, and then you choose your frequency. So in this case, I'm going to choose like between 2 and 300. Tw 12. So what this means is dB per octave. So you've got 12 dB per octave or 24 dB per octave. So the 24 is a steeper curve, and it's going to get rid of more bass. But there are pros and cons. So when you're using a steeper curve, I think it can cause more phase distortion and cause more phasing issues and stuff. So if you can get away with using a gentle curve. You see, one thing about using samples, especially ones from the 90s, a lot of the time they have this gap of silence before them, and you need to watch out for it. Now, if we want these Gregorian monks to sound like they're in a huge church, what we need to do is get the hybrid reverb and put it on hall mode. Siebes fam's asking, what's better, Ableton Live 12 Lite or Live? What do you mean? So, do you mean the standard edition? Needless to say, the standard edition has everything that the Lite one has and a lot more, but it's like goes for about 200 quid on KnobCloud. 200 and something, I think. But you know, if you can usually find Live Lite. Or was it Live Intro? Was it you asking? Because I know there's one called Live Intro, which is quite confusing. Not sure what's the difference between Live Lite and Intro. Perhaps this Plinkster should be like, boom, 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 to do like a little bit of a melody. Yeah, I'm sure ChatGPT knows all about it, or abletonlive.com. You know, I'm speaking about AI. One part of me wants to wait for Ableton Live 13, because you know that right now they're kind of sandbagging that. I feel like they're bringing out some features, updating Live 12 a bit, but really, you know that they're developing all sorts of AI features where you'll be able to put in a sample and then just remove the bass, or remove, like, split it into stems and stuff. That sort of stuff exists as plugins already. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be built into Live 13, but it's just a matter of knowing when they're going to bring it out. Is it going to be too obvious if I do this? What's this melody that I'm about to rip off? Something kind of cheesy, but I'm just messing about. Wait. Dun, 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 dun. Just a kind of standard Halloween type melody, isn't it? I'm not sure if it belongs to anyone. Something's confusing me now. What have I done here? Ah, you see that? I've accidentally copied part of the chords. You see, before I was saying I'm not very good at multitasking, so when I start waffling on about Knob Cloud and Ableton Live licenses and stuff while trying to make a melody at the same time, it's ending up in disaster. And then I was thinking it could go da, 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 for the last bit. Wait. All right. Yes, Aaron 303. So, we're going to recap for Aaron 303. But let me just make sure this melody is how I was supposed to make it. It's just that last note. Dun, dun, dun. It could be right. You know, so anyway, Aaron, what we were doing today is we've got Vital Synth. It is a free synth, as the thumbnail suggests. It's like kind of, it came after Serum. Some might say it's a bit of a copycat. It's definitely along the same lines. It looks similar. You've got 3 oscillators. You've got the filters at the bottom. You've got your envelopes and LFOs. Load of different stuff that you can. Each time you see one of these little things with the arrows up, down, left, and right, it means you can drag that onto something. So you can drag the velocity onto the envelope. Let me just play this. Well, I'm not using a velocity sensitive keyboard because I'm using the Max built-in keyboard, unfortunately, but you get the point. Anyway, so Vital, it's got 4 pages. The voice page is the main oscillators, filters, envelopes, LFOs. We've got the effects page, all these different effects that you can turn on and off and reorder them. So, for example, if I wanted to put the chorus above the compression and distortion, you just grab it and move it up to the top like that. So you can reorder these effects, put them in the order that you want, going from top to bottom. Right now I've just got distortion going into compression. Then the matrix is where you can, as I showed you before, drag in one of these onto something. So I've dragged LFO 1 onto the oscillator 1 level, and I've dragged envelope 2 onto voice transpose. That gives it that boom thing, you know, so it's like sort of going down in pitch a little bit. And this is supposed to be an 808 type sound, and I made it at the beginning of the stream, and then went on to make my own sound, which was like a wobble bass. And I've automated the rate of the wobble to go. It goes from an eighth to a quarter, I think. So you can see here it goes 1/8 and then down to 1/4 for the second note. Then I made a duplicated layer where I basically just went in and threw on every single effect, which is looking like this. So if we go to the effects, look, I just turned everything on just to see how it would sound. It ended up sounding kind of good, but I just layered it. So it's very faint in the background, but it layers with this. Then I made this one, I just used a preset, which was a plinky sound. It's called Distant Majestic Lead. And then the last thing was, this was a sample from the 0G CDs, courtesy of Jason Story. And we've got this Synth 17, which is like some sort of Gregorian monk sample, going into delay and hybrid reverb on hall mode. I was trying to make it sound like they're in a church, and that sounds like this. Hang on, Siebes fam. Before purchasing Ableton Suite, you need to... I'm guessing that 210 for the full suite would be an older one. Because right now we're up to version 12. And I'm using 11 here, which is amazing. But at this stage in the game, I'm not sure if it would be worth purchasing 11. Because we're already on 12. They're probably developing 13 as we speak. In fact, they almost certainly are. Close to release with that. They probably bring it out on Black Friday or something, so I wouldn't mind betting that the one that you've seen for 210 will be either 11 or 10 or like an older version. It's still, don't get me wrong, it's still an amazing software, as I'm kind of demonstrating right now, but I'm just not sure whether it'd be worth purchasing an older one. Wait, that higher note of the... Yeah, so here's a little tip for you. When you're making basses, right, and you're not sure, sometimes the bass is too low to really know if you're doing the right notes or not. So one thing you can do is just press shift and up, maybe twice, then have a listen to your bass line and see if it actually is playing the right notes. Obviously, it sounds ridiculous, but... So should it have been going up to C the whole time? You see how it goes down to C? Look, if I show you this one, look, it goes down to C0 there, but it goes up to C sharp. So was it going up wrong or down wrong? Let's try it on C. So anyway, so once you've figured out the notes it's on, then you press Command and A to highlight everything, Shift and down. Wait. I'm not sure here, because you know what's throwing me off? That sort of pitch modulation that it does. No, it's got to be the C. So what you do is you put it up 2 octaves and hear how it sounds. And usually, if it doesn't have that weird pitch modulation thing going on, like with a normal 808, it would just be instantly apparent that you've done it in the wrong notes. Alright, so now we're doing F and C. And then this one is on F. And what are the notes that I've done with these chords and stuff? F, G sharp and C. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure, and then it's C down here. So yeah, it was probably supposed to be C the whole time. Sorry guys, I've just been playing the incorrect notes for like an hour and a half. And you know what? That pitch modulation thing that 808's doing, it's too much, even though I only put it to, what was it? Look, if I go to this amount here, it's only on 2.3 and it's still too much. So how about, and by the way, I guess if you, I was going to say you could hold shift. No, that's not working. I'll put it on 1.1. And don't forget, on the saturator, you've got different algorithms or like different styles of saturation, including soft sine, and then getting harder, medium curve, hard curve. This is when you're going savage. Seebs fan, what I would recommend is get Ableton Live 12 Light Edition for a tenner to try it out. And then you can always upgrade to either standard or suite later on, and Ableton will give you like a 50 quid discount off the full price if you've already got the Light Edition. So I'm liking the Gregorians. As for this plinky thing, I'm not sure about the dee-dee-dee-dee. That bit's too cheesy. Alright, maybe just getting rid of that one note. You're gonna have to allow me to have a bit of cheese in here. I always call it the cheese limit. Like, you've got a threshold of how cheesy you're willing to go. But sometimes you have to just raise the cheese limit a little bit and allow a bit more through. Because otherwise, you know, not everything can just be some dark and moody stuff. You just have to allow a little bit of cheese through. How about if the whole lot goes down one octave? Let's hear it with everything. Right, so what I'm going to do with Vital, I'm just going to call this Plinky. And that's like plink chords. So what I'm going to do is, in the top one, I'm going to get rid of the chords. And then in the bottom one, I'm going to get rid of the melody. And then it's sort of separated into two different layers. And that makes it easier for me to decide later if I want to sack one of them off, because I'm not really convinced at the moment. What I'll do is I'll just duplicate them like that. Get rid of the last bar where it's doing the little amen fill. And by the way, I never spoke to you about this. So this was before I did the lesson, before I even started today. I wanted to just have some drums there so we can get right stuck into using the Vital Synth and we've got something to play along with, right? So what I did is I got the drum rack and I made this basic drum and bass pattern. And it goes like this. As you can see, we've got kick, snare and hats. Very simple stuff. I added the think break. Sounding like this on its own. Crash. And that's it. 3 layers to the drums. And then after, you know, on bar 16, just for the last bar, I brought in this terrorist amen and it goes, and you can see the auto filter is on it. And I've automated the filter to go down like this. So without that auto filter on, this amen would sound like this. But I've thrown that on and it just sort of goes, you know what I mean? So I want to big up everyone who's locked in. Thank you for joining me. Shout out to Siebes fam and the Graish Nation. And I was saying before, hang on, let me just switch views because I've not even used the new view yet. Look, how about that? So before in these live streams, I was always using the webcam that's built into my laptop. And now I'm using my actual camera. I hooked it all up today, so if you're appreciating the new audio quality and the new video quality, I'd really appreciate it if you could smash the like button. And I wanted to tell you about Graish Nation. So Graish Nation is the new channel membership. And if you become the top tier member, which is like a level 3, it's $9.99 a month and you get to be in the Zoom call. The Zoom call is going to be me and the Graish Nation members, and we're all going to bring a tune each every month and give each other feedback. I'm going to give you feedback. I'm going to give you tips. I'm going to do a bit of a private lesson in the Zoom call. And we're all going to help each other and just hang out on Zoom and play some tunes and stuff. So if that sounds interesting to you, $9.99 a month and you get to be in the Zoom call. So you can find, I think there's a button that just says join on my channel. So click the join button if you want to get involved. Could try Plinky with a different sound, you know. So the chords I think are alright. Yes, Jason, I'm looking forward to hearing it. Let's go to instruments. Throw a glockenspiel in there. I don't know. No, let's go back to Vital and find a better sound for the Plinky melody. So what you can literally do, welcome Jason Story to Graish Nation, level 3. So you're going to be, I don't know if, we're going to figure out the time, but basically it'll be Thursday evening. And I don't know if you're working on, at your time, it's going to be like the morning. Is it going to be Thursday morning or Friday morning, I can't remember. We haven't actually decided the time yet, but I'm going to start a WhatsApp group. Don't know if you've got WhatsApp, Jason, or we can start a different kind of group if you don't have WhatsApp. And we can just discuss it between us and figure out a time that's good for everybody. All right, Horror of Melbourne. Oh man, do you know what? Aaron was it Aaron 303 that was telling me about the clown step sounds. That I always end up making some sort of carnival music. Right, Plinky's going. You gotta make some executive decisions sometimes when you're producing. It's just like, I don't like that sound anymore, I'm gonna delete it. Don't keep it around just out of sympathy, you know? Don't feel sorry for the Plinky. It's gone. Anyway, let's go back to the 0G sample discs and just have a listen to some different sounds. FX. Right, I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up this time, because I always start at the top. So let's go with FX 161. You know what we could do now that I've done my little piece on Vital Synth? We could go to what I made last week if you guys are up for it. It was called, what was it called now? Jungle Live Stream. Jason, I don't know if you heard this from last time, but I was going on about how I was cycling along and I almost fell off the bike when I heard this sample. It was I was using this app called Mixcloud that's got loads of mixes on it, and the next mix came on, which was this sound clash from London called Red Bull Culture Clash. Alright, so it's seeming a bit quiet. Let me crank it up a bit. This was 0G all the way. Oh yeah, the rave stab.
This stuff right here, this is priceless. I only want to hear dub plates.
So basically, yeah, this was Red Bull Culture Clash is a sound clash between sound systems in an old school Jamaican style, but with a new school twist. So, if for the guys that don't know, back in the day, these Jamaican sound systems, to try and outdo each other, they would get like a special version of the tune done, where, you know, it'd be a big reggae tune that everybody knows, but they would get the original singer to sing it again, but they would say the name of the sound system in the chorus or something, you know. So now it's called the Dub Plate Special. And in the modern day version, it's the same, but it's not reggae. It's like rap tunes, it's grime tunes, it's all these different genres of tunes. And in the Red Bull Culture Clash, this was like the final round, and they even got Ed Sheeran doing "Shape of You," but like a special version saying the sound system's name. Anyway, you can see that I've chopped it up, and let's have a listen to some of these.
I only want to hear dub plates. Guys?
Wait.
But I'm not trying to hear no AI.
This was what like made me laugh so much when I was riding along on a bicycle, and I hear this girl going, "I don't want to hear no AI."
I don't want to hear no AI.
And then these ones that I highlighted in blue. Oh yeah, and then there's these gunshots here. And we've got this here.
Man can never talk down on my thing.
And then this was the one I used there at the drop.
But this stuff right here, this is priceless.
So we can chuck some more of these in. Maybe the gunshots. It's been a few weeks, guys. I mean, like, I know I got a reputation for throwing in too many gunshots in my jungle tunes, but I've gone about a month without doing it now, so maybe it's time to get back into it. I don't want to hear no AI. And then the gunshot. Like you're shooting the robot.
This stuff right here, this is priceless.
You know what I mean? So it's like not even in time with the beat, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, but I'm just going to leave it like that. It doesn't have to be in time. It should have its own channel, though. I don't know why I'm trying to put it on the same channel as the rewind. Just make a new one. Command and T, or if you're on Windows, Control and T. And that makes you a new audio track. And then to make a new MIDI track, where is it? Create. So here in this create, for the guys that, you know, if you prefer not to use shortcuts and you prefer to actually use these menus up here, you've got insert audio track, insert MIDI track, insert return track. You know, so Command and T, Shift Command and T for a MIDI track, or Alt Command and T for a return track. And for the guys that don't know, the return tracks are these ones over here. When you've got a reverb, you've got a delay, you can just insert one and put an effect on it and then send stuff to it. So if you want to create, you've got A return track, B return track, and then you'd create a C return track, and then you'd have these different knobs here. You'd have a third one, which is C, and you'd turn it up, and you can do your automation and all the rest of it. So that's how you insert an extra return track. Anyway, maybe this should have... No, obviously not the rewind and the gunshots. That's too much. Yeah, that's cool. And then... Alright, so...
I only want to hear dub plates.
Needless to say, all I've done so far is a 32 bar intro and then 16 bars of the drop, but it needs all fleshing out.
This stuff right here, this is priceless.
If you want to know how I made these drums, all you have to do is go back and watch last week's live stream where I show you how to chop up the amen break using all these colourful slices, and then I chop up the hot pants break using the slice to MIDI technique. And basically that live stream and the topic was inspired by the people who only have Ableton Live. Is it intro or light? People who have Ableton Live Lite who don't have the slice to MIDI function. Jason's asking about Discord. So I don't have a Discord server. They call it a server, don't they, when you have a group on Discord? I don't have one, but I think that's probably going to be the best way. Or is it? Jason, do you have WhatsApp or not? So I've heard that basically Americans don't use WhatsApp as much as other countries. I think a lot of Americans use iMessage, don't they? And I guess you probably are one of them, but in Europe, I don't know if you knew that, but it's like the main way of communicating with each other is WhatsApp. No one ever sends SMS messages anymore. It's not, like, ever since smartphones came out, it's just been WhatsApp. Yeah. And then people get hated on for having the green bubble because they're using an Android. When it's like, in Europe, everyone's using WhatsApp and you can't really tell what device they're on, you know? That's the beauty of it. Let's have a look. So, to create a Discord server, does it cost money? Anyway, what I'm going to do here is... So I was saying last time that when you do this kind of jungle tune, the idea isn't really to copy and paste. It's to just keep going and making more and more pattern. So I started off with this amen and I've got 8... Did I copy and paste? Yeah, that's it. So we've got an 8-bar pattern and then it repeats once. But the idea is to maybe add some more variation. And one thing that I like to do is to use this slice, which is the ride slice, to go make it halftime like. Wait. I'm gutted that, you know, just between me and you, yeah. You know this camera angle where I've got the light shining to one side and it's like making it look a lot better. And I'm gutted that I didn't discover this before releasing that old school Ableton Live video, because the camera, I had the light sort of more in front of me shining in my face and it doesn't look as good at all. And that video is set to blow, and I'm sure it would probably blow up even more if the camera looked better. But it is what it is, you know, you live and learn. Every video from now on will be lit from the side, and it's just making the background look way more purple, you know. That's the thing, when the light was shining at me from the front, it was also shining back there and lighting that up, and it didn't look as good. But this is just some nerdy YouTuber talk. I should get back to making the tune. So it goes, you see what I mean? So it goes kick ride, snare. And the snare drops on the third beat, which is more like a halftime dubstep type thing. So it gives it that halftime feeling. And it goes like this. Honestly, it's been literally like since I started this channel, I've been trying to get the camera angle looking good, and I feel like I kind of had a breakthrough today. And what I'm doing is I've got the light shining, instead of at my face, it's literally just shining straight across that way towards that wall over there, and it just looks a lot better. And like I say, none of it's shining on the purple background. Alright, how about this? And one thing you can do if you want to make it sound like dubstep, I'm kind of getting sidetracked here, but you know, before I was talking about sends and returns, if you go to return A, get your little pencil tool and turn it up on the snare, and then turn it up on this snare too, and it goes like this. Now obviously that's over the top, but you can do it a bit less. Let me put it to -6. I'm just sort of doing a bit of a variation, which might come now, or it might come 16 bars later, but it's good to have a little bit of a different section, you know. And if you feel like the reverb, you might not want to have as much bass in the reverb, so you just put an EQ8 before it like that, take out some of the bass like that. Siebes fam, I wanted to know why so is this account of your whole family, or is it like is that your family name, Siebes or something? Anyway, so that's how you can make the Amen break go into halftime mode, sounding like a dubstep style pattern or something. Sieber. So is it Chris Sieber? Out to the Siebes fam. Oh man.
This stuff right here, this is
Priceless. Not gonna lie. Remember I was saying before about putting the 808 coming a bit late and how it sort of allows the kick to come through first? This is what I was on about.
I only wanna hit the place.
Right, so what we're going to need to do now is come up with a bit more of a pattern with this halftime bit. So it should go. You know, like I was saying last week about there's these two kicks in a row, these two here, that are usually at the start of every bar of the Amen. Right, how about this? And then, you know, in the first bit, I was basically using that Amen crash on the last of every 4-bar section. Wait. I'm just going to start calling you Siebes now. Although, shout out to the whole family, of course. So, we've got... Alright. Oh, it's got to be the little shuffle. So I want to shout out everybody in the chat, everyone who's not in the chat, everyone who's watching this back at a later date. Thanks for joining, and I really appreciate you guys tuning in every week to hear me chop up breaks and waffle on. And right now, I'm just chopping up the Amen. And I don't know if you remember last week, what we did was essentially got the hot pants and then tried to match the pattern that we'd made. So if I just create a MIDI clip here, so now this is only 4 bars long. I'm kind of going against what I said before about copying and pasting. But so I'm going to, if you just drag this down here, you can see both, you know, you can see... What I want to do is I want to get it so that you can see the Amen. I'm going to make these tracks a little bit not as tall, shorter, you could say. So I want to see the Amen, I want to see the hot pants, and I also want to see this at the bottom. So let me get rid of the return tracks. Put that up like that, and I want to be able to see all this here. Why? Because then you're going to go through and you're going to see that it goes kick, ride, oops, you know, kick, ride, kick, ride, snare, and then you're going to be like in here, do the same thing. So kick, is this on an 8th note? No, it's on the 16th. So you got kick, you want a ride, in this case we're saying hat, shuffle, shuffle, snare, kick, and you see what I'm doing here, like what it's doing on the Amen, I can see directly below it there. And I can also see inside my MIDI clip here where I'm chopping up the hot pants break. So the next one is the ride, aka hat, kick, ride, hat, ride, shuffle, shuffle. And just go through. And I'm explaining it at the same time. But really, the speed I would be doing this at is like this. Kick, kick, snare. You know, you can get through it quite quickly. And then when there's that crash, that's like a kick and a crash at the same time. So the way how the hot pants break sounds now is like this. And you see how I've got the send A going up there? Send A. So what you can do is, whenever you want to find that, you go to Mixer here and then go to Send A Reverb. All right. And then just turn that up like that. And you can make it more subtle, send it less if you want, you know. If you just make this little bit that goes up in the red line a little bit less tall, it's more subtle. But don't forget that the amen's also being sent to the reverb, so together they're going to sound like this. So last week, for the people who were here last week, I was sort of going on about how you can make your bass and the kick drum work together. And I'm just going to demonstrate that again. So you hear how we've got the kick ride, snare. Kick ride, snare, you know? So it could go boom, boom with those kicks. So let me get the F. Was it the F? This F? And I always say it's good to have these going almost up to each other, but not touching. So, for example, like that. Why? Because if you make them touch each other, then it starts all sounding dirty and disgusting. See how I've gone up an octave? So you've got low F, high F. Low F again. And there was an extra kick there, so we could do an extra 808. Dum, dum, dum. Wait. So I think it needs to go like this. Wait. And then it could go doom. I'm not sure if the crash should be there or it should be in the more traditional spot, which would be there, and then a snare after it like that. And then obviously move the 808 to go with it. Oh yeah, and sorry, the hot pants brake needs to be adjusted accordingly. Does it go like that? So yeah, hypocritical, but I was saying no copying and pasting, but I'm just going to copy this 4-bar loop over and over again, because this is a special section where it's going into halftime, and then it's going to go back to that savagery. So I'm just going to separate 1 bar off at the end for another vocal sample, And this one we've got.
I only want to hear dub plates.
So instead of the gunshot next time, we'll have the rewind again. And then maybe we should have, I don't want to hear no AI.
I only want to hear, guys, but I'm not trying to hear no AI.
All right. Let's hear it from the start for a bit. Sometimes you just got to have a little break to hear the tune again and get inspired of what you want to do next.
But I'm not trying to hear no AI.
Right, sorry. Right, let's go back to the beginning.
This stuff right here, this is priceless.
I only want to hear dub plates. But I'm not trying to hear no AI.
So the rewind's kind of cutting off a bit at the end. Not sure if that was originally like that. Wait. So. And by the way, guys, if you see the fade at the end, but you don't know how to control it, it's because in automation mode, the fade controls go away. And if you press A to get out of automation mode, then you're going to see your fades there, and then you can just adjust it. It's all good. Chat about whatever, you know. That's what it's all about. My surname's Pearson, and it's an absolute classic in the UK and probably in America too. I didn't realise how common my name was when I was a kid, but if you Google my name, there's just loads of Craig Pearsons. There's like university professors and businessmen, and there's like what's it called? There was various Pearsons involved in building railways around the world, like the London Underground. There was a big Pearson, and also even here in where I am in Barcelona, some of the big railways they had some engineer called Pearson working on them, and there's this sort of a town outside of Barcelona where one of the big squares in the middle of town is called Plaça de Pearson.
This stuff right here, this is priceless.
I only want to hear dub plates.
What else have we got in terms of instruments? So what I think I should do now is, like, you hear the sound of the string where it's going bum bum bum. I should make a new section of the amen where it goes do do do, like sort of goes along with that, you know. So it goes kick kick snare. Future World Machines in the building. How's it going, man? So, for anyone who's tuning in and wondering why I'm not using the Vital Synth, basically we did like a long section with a different tune where I made bass lines and stuff in the Vital Synth. But after a while I went back to last week's tune, which is this jungle tune I'm making. And I'm sampling the beginning of the Red Bull Culture Clash, where there's a couple of female presenters saying classic quotes like this.
But I'm not trying to hear no AI.
And we've also got this guy.
This stuff right here, this is priceless.
So the gunshots like are sounding a bit dry and just cut off abruptly. So where is that? It's this, and then it's good. See, it's on the same channel as her, so I need to separate them. So what I'm going to do is click the channel and press Command and D, and now it's duplicated and there's two of them, right? And then I'm going to remove this from one of them. And remove this from one of them. And now I'm going to rename them. And I'm actually starting to get a little bit paranoid about saying that word over and over again on the stream.
But I'm not trying to hear.
So I'm just going to call that one AI. It's difficult to really know what's going to get demonetized and what's not, you know. For example, is this sound itself enough cause for them to demonetize me? I'm fairly new to it, so we'll find out, you know. But you do find on YouTube videos that a lot of people sort of censor themselves saying that G word or whatever, you know. And there's got to be a reason why, right? Because probably they've had an experience where they left it in and their video got demonetized. So what we've got here is, for the people who've just joined us, we've got the first part of the Amen, which is just going wild and making a jungle pattern. And we've also got the hot pants going along with it. And then second 16 bar section, I've kind of gone half time with it and made a kind of dubstep pattern. And when I say dubstep, I just mean that the snare is on the third beat, so it goes kick, ride, snare. And then on that snare, I've sort of emphasized it by sending it to send A, which is the EQ. Sorry, the reverb, and it goes, you know what I mean? And then perhaps here it could be. That's wrong. Should be this. Wait. This instrument.
But I'm not trying to hear no AI.
And then the question is, do I leave it going boom, boom, boom?
But I'm not trying to hear no AI.
Do, do, dum. But then there's the rewind, so yeah, I should probably cut it out. So if you're enjoying the stream or you've learned something, please make sure you hit the like button. And if you are interested in making jungle, drum and bass, using Ableton Live, etc., then subscribe to this channel because there's loads of tutorials on here and I go live every Sunday evening. And it's an interactive stream, by the way, so, you know, feel free to say in the chat what you think I should do next to the tune, what instrument you think I should add, what direction we should take it, and it's kind of a collaborative thing where we make the tune together.
This is priceless.
Future World Machines, basically what would happen is that I never make any money off this stream, not tonight or ever in the future.
I only want to hit the place.
Which I guess at this stage in the game, you know, with my current viewership and stuff, it does equate to a few quid or maybe even less, 50p. You know what I mean? But it's a good habit to get into, not swearing or talking about any naughtiness, because in the future this channel's going to be massive.
But I'm not trying to hit.
And then I'll be losing a few £100 if I say anything.
This is priceless.
And I wanna let you in on a little thing. In my latest video where I'm talking about the old school Ableton Live 1.0, I made this mashup, like medley of tunes for the intro. Like big beat tunes, Fatboy Slim, Chemical Brothers, The Prodigy and all this stuff. And I made it so that each tune only plays for about 6 or 8 seconds and then it switches. And that way, you know, it kind of flies under the radar. And also, it's just fun, you know, to make an absolute mashup of tunes that were popular around 2001 when the software came out, you know. So if you're not seeing it, by the way, my latest video dropped a couple of days ago. It's about Ableton Live 1.0, the first ever version that came out. I've got it on CD-ROM and I installed it on an old school laptop and checked it out. So if you're interested in the history of this software, check out my latest video.
This stuff right here, this is priceless.
Oh yeah, that was it. So I was supposed to put some like either reverb or something else on that because it's sounding all dry and it just cuts off immediately. So perhaps the hybrid reverb. Whenever you drag in the hybrid reverb, it's automatically on a 3.5 second decay time, which is way too long for most things. So the first thing you want to do is like drag that down to between 1 or 2 seconds or something like that, you know. Spring reverb. Let's have a listen. Wait. Where was it? You know what I might do? So not the actual hits themselves, but then this last bit here, I might automate it so it gets sent to the B delay like this. Let me show you. So the last shot happens there, and then you can just fade this up really gradually. And I don't want it to actually repeat the actual shots, but just the And another way you can do this if you don't want to use sends, you can just get the delay unit itself, put it on here before the reverb, use this dry and wet, automate it to go up here, and make sure you only go up to 50% or less. Why do I say only go up to 50%? Well, because the way how this wet and dry knob works is if you go past 50%, you're going to be hearing more of the repeats than the actual signal itself. So it's a good practice to get into only using the wet dry knob of a delay up to 50%, unless you want to get arty and hear less of the original sound and more of the delayed sound. So anyway, I've just noticed something. This should come in there on the line.
Plate.
She says,
I only want to hit the plate.
right, so this, I want this to be way more subtle. I'm going to get rid of that dot there. Bring this down. It's behaving quite weirdly. Won't let me drag it downwards. It's because there's various dots there. Still cuts off weirdly. I'm going to let it carry on till there, but with a fade out. There we go. Alright, so don't worry, Seebs. We all get stuck at some point, you know. You're like, what am I going to do now? And I don't know what instrument would go with this or whatever, but what you do then is you just draw for the, like, go back to the the samples. Not these cheesy scratches, though. And sometimes if you feel like you're getting stuck, you can just do something really experimental, like stretching, time stretching and reversing samples and making them sound absolutely mad. And then you might come up with something great. So for example, if I wanted to throw this in, you might think that it's not in tune with the project, so you'd kind of need to mess about with the transpose. You know what I mean? Try and get it sounding better with everything that's already there. Also, shouldn't really be warping it. I feel like it's in between. So 3 and then turn this up to 50%. That way you're halfway in between 3 and 2. It's a bad example because it just doesn't sound good at any pitch. Future World Machines is asking me if I usually use the texture time stretching algorithm. I'll show you one place that I did on this tune. There was an elongated snare there. And it's stretched out to be double as long as it should have been. And I put it on texture and grain size 34. Gives it that old school time stretched jungle feel. Alright, that sample wasn't working, so again, I was saying before, like, you try something, don't let it stick around for the sake of it. If it's not working, just delete it. And this 0G discs are like hit and miss, you know, obviously. Some of the sounds are old school in an iconic way, and some of the sounds are old school in a undesirably cheesy way. Brass. But one thing I was just thinking is the brass, but 12 semitones down. So pitch it all the way down like this. What you can do is get the simpler instead. Delete that. Go for the instruments. And close all this. Get the simpler. Put that there. Go back to the cheesy brass. And I'm just going to turn on the computer MIDI keyboard. Wait, is that not long enough? Is that the whole sample? Does cut off a little bit at the end. Wait. Sounds corny as hell. Anyway, how about that? Layered quite quietly.
But I'm not trying to hear no AI.
Back in a sec.
This stuff right here, this is priceless.
I only want to hear dub plates.
Big up, Siebes. See you on Thursday, man. And until then, enjoy the Easter. $17 to $33. Oh yeah, so the rave stab. We need to bring that back later on.
This stuff right here, this is priceless.
But I'm not trying to hear no AI.
Yeah, so essentially it's going to just play those two 16-bar sections again, but obviously I was banging on about how jungle shouldn't really be a copy and paste type genre, so I'm going to have to put my money where my mouth is and come up with a whole new 16-bar, you know, go through all this again. So what time is it now? It's 11 o'clock. All right, I'll do another 16-bar section of the breaks and that. I'll put this grid on to 1/8. So I'm going to be as quick as I can with this though. So we're going to start off this one with the classic 2 kicks in a row. Kick, kick, snare. You know what it could do? It could just go into like more of a classic D&B section for just a little bit. So, and obviously not with that. Not with that automation to the reverb there. I'm starting to get hungry now actually. So, kick. I'm not talking about just like a very, very standard one, but it could sort of go along these lines. Like this. Oops. And then it could go. Alright, I know what to do. Snare, shuffle, shuffle, snare, shuffle, shuffle, crash. This is the new section. So like this. And then it does this first bit again. And then it could do snare ride, snare ride. Get the ride there. Snare ride, snare ride, snare ride, shuffle, shuffle. Will that work? Let's have a listen. Sometimes it's good to just loop this bit and see if it works. You know. Maybe I'm taking it too far with the snare ride. Snare ride, snare ride. Maybe it should be kick there. Yeah, Future World Machine. So in this is actually last week's stream, and I've come back to it. So if you want to see how I made everything, then you just have to watch last week's stream. But what I did is basically, I got some comments on one of my vids during that week saying that Slice to MIDI isn't available in Ableton Live Lite. So these were some beginners who are using Ableton Live Lite, and they were watching my tutorial trying to learn how to chop up breaks, and they're like right clicking it and the option isn't there, you know. So then I said, you know what, I'll do a stream specially for these guys and I'll show you how to do it the audio way. But then after I chopped up the Amen, then I chopped up the Hot Pants the MIDI way. So I basically showed both techniques in one stream. And it's very simple. So what I've done is I've color coded them: red for kick, yellow for snare, green for shuffle shuffle. We've also got some additional slices like this crash in pink, and there's also this double crash which I've not really used very much, but it's in like a darker red. So sorry, double kick where it goes do-do. I think I might do kick, kick, snare, shuffle, kick, kick, snare, shuffle. And then we do this. Essentially just rinse this bit. And this is another classic: kick, kick, snare, shuffle, shuffle, snare, shuffle, shuffle. Like this. So as you can see, I'm basically just using the same little slices over and over again in different arrangements. And I'm just going to put that shuffle shuffle one more time, and then this crash, and then that's basically, what is it, 4 bars? No, that's an 8 bar section that goes like this. Actually, maybe I'll just use the crashes. Not 4 times in a loop, but just hang on. So I'm only really trying to use the crash at the end of every 4 bar section, if you know what I mean. Right, now we've got that. So what we do is we create a MIDI clip here by highlighting the section and pressing Shift, Command and M. And now, just like before, basically we zoom in and so that we can see the pattern of the slices. So it goes kick, kick, snare, shuffle, shuffle. And then here what we're going to do is put this onto 1/8 note, put in a slice, and then press Command and D. So that's going to duplicate, and we've got 2 kicks in a row, and then we've got the snare. So use your arrow keys to move them up and down. Shuffle, shuffle, kick, snare, shuffle, snare, shuffle, shuffle. You know what I mean? So I'm just pressing Command and D over and over again, and each time I duplicate it, I use the up and down arrows to put it where it needs to be in correspondence with the amen break. So for example, I've just gone off it now, but this last one here, I'm just going to press down a load of times till it's on the kick. And then we got, this is why it was good to colour code the amen, so it's really easy to see. Stop doing that. Right, so we've got, where are we up to? I feel like I've done something weird, but if I just go like that and press Command and J and put it all back to 1. So, go back in. So this is supposed to be a kick, so I press, don't do that. So I press down, 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 so it's a kick. Alright, back on track. Snare, shuffle, snare, ride. Alright, and then when it's one of these crashes, I just put a kick there because that's essentially a kick and a crash at the same time. Now we're on to bar 5. Kick, kick, snare, shuffle, kick. Bear with me a sec. And that's it. So that's how you go through and make the hot pants break do the same pattern as the amen. So when I play it now, it goes like this. And together. Alright, so I was saying before about the bass is like in this tune, the bass is just very closely following the kicks of the break. So in this case, we've got these kick, 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 kick. So in this second section, I'm making the bass follow the snare instead. So it goes like this. Wait. So it goes up there. Boom, boom, boom. With the snare. Okay, so it goes like this. And then we're back to the kick kicks. Kick, kick. Kick, kick. So it goes... I guess I'll just copy and paste this and then adjust it. It should go doom, 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 doom. Try that. Alright, so the next bit it goes dum dum, dum dum, twice. Where were we? F. So we got a dum dum, and then I'm going to make these ones a little bit longer like that. Quite like that. Dum 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 dum. Essentially, I don't know why I'm doing all this again, because it's going very similar to the first round. One thing I was saying to the people who were here before is that, like, if you're ever in doubt about what notes your bass line's playing because it's way too low to hear it properly, all you do is pitch it up by 2 full octaves so it's right up there. And then listen. Yeah, that's right. I don't know if my keyboard's just run out of batteries, but it's not really working. Where is it? Alright, back on again. Let's see if it can show me the battery level. No, it doesn't really tell you, but I think my keyboard's running out of batteries. Snide. Anyway, I think it's pretty much one of them tunes that's going to have to be done in several sessions, but let me just quickly copy this and we'll do a little 1 bar gap at the end here. We'll have a sample there. Maybe it should be the guy again saying this dub is priceless.
This dub right here, this is priceless.
What's that FX there?
This dub right here, this is priceless.
Right, so a lot of times in tunes what I do is, you know, you've got your 16 bar sections, and you've got section 1, it's kind of minimalist, but it does have a pad with it. Section 2 has got instruments. And then section 3 is where it goes proper minimalist, and it's strictly drum and bass. But wait, what were some of these effects here? Could they be thrown into the part that's strictly drum and bass, because it is absolutely stripped down? So
This stuff right here.
you know what, as a little compromise, what I could do is this. Duplicate the pad layer, and from the top one, I'm just going to delete this section, and from the bottom one, I'm going to delete everything else. That way I've got this section here just isolated on its own layer. Now what I can do with this one is EQ it down even more. You see how I've kind of got it band passed in? It's just the mid-range. But on this one, I'm going to do that even more so that it's like strictly bandpassed like this. It's almost not there, but it is. And then perhaps on this one, I'll turn up the... Well, the delay's already on 50% wet. Just like add even more effects so that it's like... I was saying to you on one of these streams that like I watched this video called The Art of Mixing with David Gibson or something. And he was... one thing he was saying is that you can use reverb to push things back in your virtual 3D space. So if you imagine your mix like a room, and you've got the left side and the right side representing your left and right stereo channels, you've got up and down representing volume. Up is loud, down at the bottom it's quiet. But then there's this third way, which is front to back. And if things are dry and very loud, they're right up in your face. And then if you sort of put some more effects like reverb, chorus, delay, it pushes them to the back of the room and further away from you in the virtual 3D space. So what we're doing now, by adding that chorus and cranking up this wet and dry, and maybe even the decay time of the reverb, I'm pushing it further into the back of the room.
This stuff right here. This is priceless.
But I'm not trying to hear no AI.
So that's it. Shout out Dynalix. I don't know if you were here for the last live stream, but we were basically making this tune with some samples from the Red Bull Culture Clash. And we've got this dub right here. This is priceless. And we've also got I'm not trying to hear no AI. And there's also this one here, which was... Wait.
I only want to hear dub plate.
In fact, that's the one that should be at the end. So you only hear her say, I strictly want to hear AI, yeah? That's once. Then it's him saying, this dub is priceless. And then it's back to dub plates. And the AI thing only happens once. Wait. So this is AI.
But But I'm not trying to hear no AI.
This is dub plates.
This stuff right here.
And then back to this.
I only want to hear dub plates.
And so far we've got the G shots one time.
Plates.
I think they need to be turned down a bit maybe. Where were they?
Plates. Plate. Plates. Plates. Plates.
Alright, this is going to come here. Delete the garage rewind and put this here instead.
This stuff right here. This is priceless.
And that's it. So that's how you make a jungle tune. That's how you chop up breaks.
I only want to hear dub plates.
Nice one, Dynalix. So it's a shame you just caught the end, but in the beginning of the stream I was talking about Wavetable Synth, and just to show you one more time what it looks like for the guys who've not seen it, it's basically looking like this. You've got so shout out to Ned Rush, another fellow live streamer and all-round general gentleman.
This stuff right here. This is priceless.
Although I think he's unsubscribed from my channel, you know. You know, on your in your YouTube dashboard you can see who's subscribed to you, and it kind of orders them from who is
I only want to hear dub plates.
who's got the most subscribers, right? So Ned Rush for a while was my subscriber with the most subscribers himself. But he's disappeared, so I guess he must have disliked my videos and he's had enough. Anyway, big up Ned Rush. He's an absolute genius when it comes to Ableton Live. So I was going to say,
But I'm not trying to hear no AI.
if you've enjoyed tonight's live stream, make sure you click the like button so that everybody else can find it in their recommendations. Consider subscribing to this channel if you want to see more tutorials from me, live streams. I go live every Sunday.
This stuff right here. This is priceless.
Tell Ned Rush to resubscribe. And actually, there was one, you know, Human Synthetics was doing a feedback stream, and I submitted a tune, and Ned Rush was listening to it and everything, and Human Synthetics was like, yeah, Graish is a YouTuber as well, and Ned was just like, oh, okay. But he didn't let on like, yeah, I subscribed to her. So I don't know if he even meant to subscribe to me in the first place, to be honest. He'd never heard of me. But anyway, big up Ned. Genius. Anyway, I was going to say to everybody who's enjoyed this, who's learned something from this, make sure you subscribe to the channel and consider becoming a channel member in Graish Nation so we can get together in the Zoom call once a month.
This stuff right here. This is priceless.
Yeah, I really enjoy both of their content. Alex obviously knows what he's doing on Ableton as well. Different styles, you know. But obviously everybody loves chopping up breaks.
I only want to hear dub plates.
Thank you, Pretend Passing. I really appreciate that, man. What this tune needs,
I'm not trying to hear no AI.
if I had more time, I would probably in this section here, I would get rid of the amen and put in a different break just to switch it up, you know. Maybe I'll do that later, but maybe it'd be the hot pants on the think break, or maybe it'd be the amen and think break, or a different combination, you know, and maybe bring in the Apache break as well. So if you enjoy learning from me, consider joining Graish Nation. We get together once a month on Zoom.
I only want to hear dub plates.
And we're going to be sharing feedback. We're going to be giving each other tips. You know, bring a tune to the session and get a load of feedback on how you can improve it. And I will be bringing a tune myself to each session. I'll be giving advice, feedback and guidance. And make sure you come back next Sunday for more on the live stream. Until then, I'll see you next time. And I can't stop it now. I'm going to let the rest of the tune play one more time.
This is priceless.
Yes, Jason, I can email you about that. We're going to try to organise it so that it's a good time for everybody. And I know that Siebes is off work.
I'm not trying to hear no AI.
I'm off work. So, depending on your schedule, we'll make it work for you. I'm actually really looking forward to the first Graish Nation meeting. The first of many.
This stuff right here. This is priceless.
Alright, it's the last 16 bars of the session. Yeah, but if we do it in the... If we could start at 8 in the evening, I think that's going to be maybe 11 in the morning for you, so... Anyway, big up, take care people. See you next week.